ToramOnline is a game of progression. This means that the power of a player's class or weapon is level-gated, or depending on its progress in the game. The skills, equipment, and potential are all locked behind levels. Skills have different tiers: Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that just got released, and all of them can be unlocked at a certain level. And as to be expected, the higher the tier, the better and more powerful it is. The same goes for the equipment. Certain items are also level-gated if you go to the blacksmith, meaning the quality of the equipment that you can craft is also dependent on your level. The same goes with its potential. It's only natural that those at higher levels will have better and higher potential than those at lower levels. This is mostly because the number of skill points and stat points that they have is significantly higher, giving them a better overall status. And that is the reason why players level up and grind to level cap. More stats, more skills, resulting in more damage. And if you're a tank, more health, more resistance, etc. Leveling gives the players a sense of progression, a feeling that their character is improving day by day. Thus motivates them to play more, as the power of your character is equivalent to the amount of time you've spent playing the game. So, it is only fitting that the longer a player plays, the stronger they are, right? Well, in a sense, yes, but it's not always true. Aside from quote-unquote unbalanced classes, most players relates this to the power of Spina, which I think most players will agree. Spina can literally do everything in this game. From EXP or levels, to equipments and crystals, anything to increase your power, Spina can buy it. And if you are playing for a long time like I do, you have probably know already how player values power or damage, especially at the endgame. You can see this in how almost every players demand fast kills in their runs. Well, not that I can blame them, even I prefer fast kill in my runs. It is just that players want to make use of their precious time efficiently. See it like this: why would I join a party that takes 3 minutes to kill the boss, when someone can do it in under 1 minute? Now, the amount of damage and time becomes the power, which is pretty reasonable, considering its meaning, power. And I don't have any problem with that. Well, for the most part at least. Spina has a huge impact on one's character's power. That is why there's no such thing as a bad weapon in this game if you put time and Spina into it. Yes, at baseline and at peak potential there's still an imbalance. This just seems that some weapons power crept others in a way. Ahem. And I'm definitely not talking about aerial cut. Welp, they just spam like 3 million damage in every 3 seconds? Seems reasonable. Definitely not salty about it. Toram, and just like most MMOs, heavily favors power over anything. Probably why players prefer one heavy nuke damage over death of 1,000 cuts. Does not matter how skillful you are, at endgame especially, power and damage is the priority. If you got no damage, you got no party. Simple. And to get power, Spina plays a heavy part. It is sad to say, but it's the truth. Just like I said before, players prioritize power and damage. That is why bows was one of, if not the most played weapon, as it is the closest thing to nuke damage DPS that you can build for a lower price. Not to say that skill isn't important, because it is. Being knowledgeable in your weapon, how to utilize your skills, and combat mechanics is really important. It comes handy in some situations, as being skillful about something allows you to know what to do, especially at high-paced fights. And that is why as a katana main, seeing a skillful player like Hiven is so spectacular and astonishing. Because he's not only powerful, but is also extremely skillful. He properly utilizes all, and I mean all the skills that he has, and his katana mastery and overall combat skills is godly level. In this fight, he always uses triple thrust to close the distance, uses smash from knuckle skills to flinch and cancel its AoE attacks. And the way he uses magic wall for proration is brilliant. And not to mention, he never misses his Giryu rotation. Overall, Hiven is an extremely skillful katana player. That is why I prefer watching his solo vids than those who just spam soul hunt. And I do not have any problem with soul hunters out there. Well, as long as it works, right? Skill is a very important thing that no amount of spina can buy. You can be powerful quickly, but you cannot be skillful at the same pace. In Toram, power tends to outpace skill. That is why it is much preferred, as skill cannot overcome a very large power gap. The only time where skill is in the advantage is when the power levels are closer. And that's why, going back to what I've said before, there's no such things as bad weapon. Yes, there's still a weapon unbalance, and we can't do anything about it. Some weapons might outdamage others, but that does not make them bad or they fell off. Remember, for the most part, it's mostly the equipment that heavily modifies your power. So, don't feel so bad about it. And I know some of you would say, well, Baku, why would I care about damage? Or, I don't care about damage. Well, if you do not care, it's fine. Good for you. And keep enjoying the game. You might not care, but some people did. That is why some people spend hundreds of millions of spina in building one character. That's just the way it is. And that is the purpose of the game's currency. It gives you the power. And since we are already at this topic of progress and power, I would also like to talk about this one thing that's been happening, and will continue to happen in the game, power creep. The gradual unbalancing of a game due to successive releases of new content, leaving the older ones underpowered. This mostly relates and happens to items, especially gears and equipments. For example, Junior Dragon Zivio Krista, when the first time it came out, it became one of the strongest Kristas for additional gear. A lot of players want this, and its worth is obviously high, mostly because its stats is similar, if not better than the Ad Gear Bear Hack. Then few months later, they released a pretty similar Krista, Evil Lafina, also for Ad Gear. It has the same attack and crit percent stats. But unlike Zivio, Lafina has higher attack percent, and it also gives a huge 10% physical pierce. And now, everyone wants this new shiny Krista. It took the spotlight from Zivio, and Zivio's demands and value greatly fell. It seems like every time there's a new update, there's always something that gets depreciated. And over time, the power of items, gears, and equipments slowly creeped up. That's why many of the great equipments that was released back then wasn't even worth using today. Well, except if you're a new player. Imagine spending 30 million spina for 2 slotting Orion, just for them to release Yatagarasu few months later. Damn, pain. Yes, power creep is a bad thing, but ToramOnline is a progressing game, with contents being released every few months, so power creep is inevitable, and it's been here since the beginning, like how the way Kristas work, where there is a base and a few upgrades. I don't know if you can really call this one a power creep, since its concept is more like evolution, but I digress. Yes, power creep might be bad, but it's necessary for the game. It's kinda what drives the players to keep playing, to see what's coming next. And I think Asabimo handles this really well with how the way they add new contents and equipments. Like how we only get main weapon upgrades once a year through anniversaries. And the difficulty of this anniversary battles upscales every year, which matches to the current power level of the players. As of recording of this video, the level cap is 250, so, with upcoming anniversary, expect the difficulty to be 250-ish. And that's all I have for you now. It's been a while since I've done this type of video, so thanks for listening to my pep talk. And if you've enjoyed the video, subscribe.